China is watching what Australia does closely with emissions trading. That's a message from one of the architects of China's ambitious plan to reduce its carbon emissions. As China prepares for a pilot emissions trading scheme covering 250 million people, Dr. Jiang Kejun from China's Energy Research Institute has dismissed the view that what Australia does is unimportant in the global context. Hamish Fitzsimmons reports from Melbourne.
As the hail fell outside, China's plans to reduce carbon emissions were outlined by one of its senior policymakers at a breakfast organised by the federal government's Climate Commission. It's urging Australian businesses to get in at the ground level.
That challenge for China is a huge opportunity for Australia, particularly in technology, R&D and the professional services sector.
As China's economy grows, so does its pollution. It's the world's #1 carbon emitter, and its government is taking action. China's 12th five-year economic plan began this year, and key parts of it are energy intensity reductions of 16% on 2005 levels and carbon intensity reductions of 17%.
They have a very strong policy on energy efficiency together with the carbon intensity target. So this is a very good signal that we'll soon have a very big package to implement such kind of target.
China has identified 6 cities in 4 provinces to trial an emissions trading scheme, regions with much of the country's heavy industry and a population of 250 million people.
It's possible in the 6 pilot phase city and provinces, they will start emission trading by 2013. And hopefully maybe the national wide emission trading can be done possible by 2015 or later than that.
Dr. Jiang says the political debate about an ETS in Australia is being closely watched by Chinese policymakers.
What happened in Australia is quite interesting, so we are looking at that, and we personally strongly hope that Australia can go ahead fast and take the lead in the world. I think many other countries can really learn from this process.
One of the biggest challenges for China is to raise the living standards of hundreds of millions who still live below the poverty line, while at the same time reduce emissions. Dr. Jiang says this is where China can learn from countries like Australia.
Now our studies show we do have the opportunity, especially we find some technology solution. This is also an important way we can learn from Australia and other countries. If you did good job here, don't worry, China will pick up the good practice from you and other countries back to China.
While China and the US are by far the world's biggest emitters of carbon dioxide, Australia is also in the top 20. And that means it has an obligation to take action, according to Australian Climate Commissioner Roger Beale.
China and the US cannot solve this problem alone. And I think it's one of those awful myths you read in the paper that it's just China and US, they need to act together and the problem's over. Second, it'll take action by that whole group of 20. And third, Australia is a typical, not a tiny emitter.
If Australia don't do anything, what happened for other countries below top 20? So we should take lead, encourage the OECD country to do the lead for the CO2 emission reduction, and also could be a good example. And also, important things, find the solution, how to do low carbon.
The Climate Commission will continue its international forum next week. Hamish Fitzsimmons, Late Line.